Hi there guys, welcome to one of the videos in the Cook with Sans series. This is where I'm sharing with you some of my knowledge and experience about recipes, but particularly focusing on cooking nutritional meals on a really tight budget, and talking about some of the nutritional properties, and also hopefully making the recipes tasty and relatively straightforward. The series is quite sort of focused for those of you guys that are not really used to cooking and maybe don't have a lot of confidence, and so sort of going through all the sort of processes step by step. So today's recipe is going to be an omelette with some potatoes and vegetables. So yeah, I hope you enjoy. Thanks a lot. So as you can see here are the basic ingredients for the recipe. So on average probably a couple of eggs, depending on your appetite, but a couple of eggs per portion. An onion, you're going to probably have half of the onion per portion. 2 to 3 potatoes, again depending on your appetite. Some cheese, and then some sort of vegetables. All of the meals that I'm going to talk you through, always obviously recommend that you're going to have some vegetables in the mix, because you need the vegetables obviously for some of the nutrients and minerals that are really important in your diet. And talking about the nutrients, again you've got a really good mix of nutrients here, which is what you're aiming for with your meals, particularly all of your main meals. And so first of all you want your proteins, carbs and fats. So in terms of protein, you've got absolutely really good quality protein in eggs, and also really good quality fats in eggs as well. Protein's really good for obviously cell repair, and in terms of your immune system. Protein's also good in terms of regulating sleep, etc. And fats are really good, particularly say for your brain health. You really need healthy fats to make sure that your brain is functioning as it should do. So it's good for mood and also for memory, and as I say, for sleep. Similarly with cheese, you've also got protein and fats in cheese, both again good quality. You've also got your calcium in the cheese. With your potatoes, you've got fibre, you've got vitamin C, really packed with vitamin C. You've also got potassium, which is very good for heart health and brain health again. But you really need to, if you can, eat them with the skins on, because a big proportion of those nutrients are actually in the skins over and above the actual flesh itself. Onions again are absolutely packed with different nutrients and vitamins, and particularly one a nutrient that's very common in onions, garlics and leeks, which has an anti-inflammatory property, which is really good for your immune system and fighting disease. The other thing about eggs is they're packed with loads of other nutrients as well, like vitamin A, vitamin K, vitamin D, all really different but important minerals and vitamins that you need in your diet. And finally, you should always have veg with your main meals, because they're packed with vitamins, nutrients and minerals, all of which your body needs to function at its optimum. And they're all absolutely packed with what are called antioxidants, which are disease fighting properties that are really good for heart health, immune system, fighting cancer and other degenerative diseases such as say diabetes or heart disease, as I say. So the store cupboard essentials for this recipe are you're going to need some olive oil. Sort of light olive oil is ideal. Any oil can be used apart from like extra virgin olive oil, but a light olive oil has got the extra nutrients that you get from the omega fats that's in that olive oil, and of course salt and pepper, always essential in most recipes, because that just adds that little bit of extra seasoning to bring out the flavour. So the first thing to do with this recipe is to get the potatoes on the go, because they tend to take this size, like the two big ones there, you're probably talking about 25 to 30 minutes. You can never be absolutely sure of the time something's going to take, because different potatoes actually do take slightly different lengths of time, and it obviously depends on the size. So sort of like I say, a bit of a rule of thumb is probably somewhere between 25 to 30 for this size of potato, and just keep testing them with a knife as it gets towards that time, just to see if you need to sort of take them off or to leave them on for a little bit longer. and I've also got in here just a small pinch of salt just to give that slightly extra seasoning. So as you can see here, I've sliced the onions just into nice thin slices, and I was just going to show you how I tend to prepare my garlic, just to make it relatively easy to prepare. So what I normally do is use the knife to actually crush the garlic first of all, and that just sort of loosens the skin off a little bit. Just chop one of the ends off and then it peels off quite nicely. And then just start doing, I think I've probably shown this before in other videos, but just slicing it down long ways first of all, and then starting to cut across that way till you've got really small pieces, as fine as you can get them, just so it distributes it nicely throughout the whole of the omelette when you start to fry that up. And as you can see here now, here are all the different bits that are have been prepared, ready to start doing the omelette. The potatoes are on the go at the back there. All the onions sliced up, the garlic chopped. I've just sliced the cheese up into pieces. You can grate it or crumble it, whichever works best for you. The eggs just briefly whisked. And these two veg don't take any preparation at all. I've just sliced some pieces off. You can actually take the stringy bits out of sugar snap peas if you don't like them. And the way you do that is just to sort of stick your nail in the end, just see if there's one of those tails on there, and take it off. Now some people don't mind that, but I do that with sugar snap peas, because sometimes when you're eating them you get that sort of stringiness with them. So that's just a bit of a tip if you like sugar snap peas and you want to get rid of that slight string that you get at the back of them. So then starting to prepare the omelette, I've got a little bit of oil in the frying pan here, and you want it on a sort of medium to high heat. And the first thing we're going to do is to start frying up the onions. Just wait for that to get a little bit warmer. And then you can use anything really to sort of just keep moving around, so a fork or a metal spoon or a wooden spoon. Another really good tip that I do sometimes is to use, two spoons like this, either wooden or metal, just to sort of keep them moving around so they don't burn on either side. So you want to sort of cook those through till they start to sort of soften up and get a little bit brown around the edges. You can actually start preparing the onions as soon as you've got your potatoes on to boil, because once you've sort of browned those and you can do your garlic and any other additions that you're going to have in your omelette, you can then put them just to one side, wait a little bit longer until the potatoes are more along the way, and then start to bring the omelette together. So you can just do all of this in preparation. So you can see that the onions are starting to soften and brown a bit, so I'm going to put the garlic in at this stage. Same thing, just keep it moving about all the time. But garlic can burn quite easily, which is why we put it in a little bit later, and if it burns it goes quite bitter. So you just turn the gas, or if you've got electric oven, down slightly, electric hob, and just again keep that moving around just so that the garlic doesn't stick to the bottom and burn. So like I say, you can get a bitterness from garlic if it's cooked too much and starts to burn. So I'm just going to keep that going now for a minute or two, keep moving it around until you feel that the garlic again has started to soften and start to cook. So at this point, you can obviously, in with the onions, in with the garlic, you could add your sliced pepper or your sliced mushrooms, or if you've replaced those instead of, say, the onions, this is the point where you're sort of going to fry all those things together to start to prepare the filling for the omelette. When your onions are pretty much there, as in they're sort of softened and they're sort of nicely browned and the garlic's the same, you can just then take them onto a piece of kitchen paper. You don't actually need to put it on kitchen roll if you don't want to, but you can just put them over onto a plate, onto kitchen paper if you've got some, and just leave that now to one side while you start to think about preparing the actual omelette itself. So about 10 minutes before your potatoes are due to be ready, you can make a start on preparing the omelette itself. And I actually finish off my omelettes under the grill. So if you've got a grill, at this point you can actually turn the grill on I just got it on, I just started it now, and you can actually put the omelette under the grill just to finish it off and give it a really sort of nice brown finish. So I've got a little bit of oil in the bottom of the pan, just swished it around a little bit to spread it out. We've already whisked up the egg, so we're going to put that straight in the pan and get a nice sizzle going on. Once you've actually sort of formed a little bit of a base, you can then put your onions and garlic on top of that. And then at this stage, of course, if you've fried up anything else like your peppers or mushrooms, all of those can go on top of the omelette at this stage. So you're going to keep that on a medium heat and just start to cook it through. You can also layer up and start putting your cheese on the omelette at this point in time as well. We're now about 6 or 7 minutes away from the potatoes being done, so I'm going to get the vegetables on the go. Broccoli tends to take somewhere around 6 or 7 minutes, maybe slightly less depending on the size of the pieces that you've cut. And then the sugar snap peas, you can wait for those because you can eat these actually raw, so they only really need about 3 or 4 minutes just to warm them through. So when you've got about 3 or 4 minutes for your potatoes to finish, you're looking down your checklist and the timings that you've got, you can put your other veg in if it's like sugar snap peas and it doesn't take as long to cook. So you've got 3 or 4 minutes to go. So you're going to just sprinkle some herbs on. If you have got some herbs, just sprinkle a handful on. Don't overdo it because it can actually be a little bit overpowering. And as I say, this is oregano, which is quite nice. And if you haven't already, I've already put my salt and pepper on, but you can put a little bit of salt and pepper on at this point. And then you're going to put it under the grill just to start crisping and browning up that cheese. If you actually haven't got a grill, that's absolutely fine. You can just keep cooking away on the top of the hob. If you've got a lid or a plate, you can sometimes put that on and that just speeds things up. So you can see here now, this has actually been under the grill, so you can see the cheese has melted and it's starting to brown up really nicely. And we've got the veg on the go, the sugar snap peas are now in with the potatoes, and they've been in there for about 3 minutes so far. So everything's starting to come together now to sort of bring it to a conclusion. You can, as they're going along, you can start to test your broccoli and your potatoes just to see how they're going along, see if they're starting to get slightly softer, and to whatever point you like it. Some people like the veg a bit softer, some people like them a bit firmer. Obviously the firmer the better because you're keeping more of the nutritional value. So here you can see the overall finished meal. So there was enough, obviously, eggs here to do 2 halves, to make 2 portions. I cut the the potatoes in half part way through the cooking just to speed them up a bit, just to make them a bit smaller. And obviously it's really nice with a bit of HP sauce or something like that. So hopefully that was helpful. Hopefully there was some good information there. And if you look down at the bottom of the video, you'll see the sort of listing for the timings and the ingredient checklist, etc.